Hi, everyone. It's Larry Gordon with Esther Gordon here, and welcome to this week's version of Between the Lines,
Yes.
the electronic version of the Five Towns Jewish Times. We've done a number of programs on people getting married, the shidduch crisis, not getting married.
I don't want to call it a crisis
Okay,
because it's
you
not
have
a
to-
disease.
you have to talk
I don't
about
want to
that.
call it a crisis, but it's an issue.
It's an issue. Today we're going to be talking about actually divorces. Our guests are good friends of ours going back many years, Esther Schonfeld.
A long time.
A long time. You may even have had a school named after you a long time ago in Brooklyn.
People ask me that
I always
all
think
the
about
time.
that.
I'm like,
People say,
hello.
Possibly our number one question we get.
That was
Seriously,
that was
that's the Schonfeld.
that was a Lower East Side yeshiva. I don't know
And
if
moved to Brooklyn.
it doesn't exist anymore. But her daughter, Allie Weaderhorn. Did I pronounce that right?
Weaderhorn, yes. Thanks
Allie
for having
Weaderhorn,
us.
and they are a law firm located in Cedarhurst, New York, and they are a team of 4 lawyers, and they deal with divorces, of course, from a multiplicity of directions, but that focus specifically on the Orthodox Jewish community. Okay, now we would think that, like so many other things, the frum community being what it is, doesn't have to deal with the great number or astronomical out of control numbers that other communities deal with any number of issues. But specifically, there's a lot of talk about the almost rocket ship style in which the divorces in the frum community are skyrocketing. I don't know what the numbers are. We were talking before we started recording.
You said one number which I thought was a little high. I think it's probably closer to 35%, maybe. Unfortunately, 40.
Well, Allie made an interesting observation. She
Yes,
says
she
everyone
did.
that comes into her office is a potential candidate for a divorce. So to her, it looks like
There's no number.
almost 100% of the people that walk in there want to get divorced. But Orthodox Jewish life being what it is, very traditional. Really, we do our best to not allow the influences of the outside world, which are spiraling out of control, to seep in and have an impact on our families. Okay.
I wish that was true. It's
Okay.
not true.
Not true.
But let's talk. We introduced you, so let's first hear from either one of you, Esther or Allie. Tell us, why is it that the numbers of divorces in the Orthodox community and the frum community seem to be ascending.
control?
Ascending.
So I'll say one point that 2 points that I'm finding a lot of. One is that we live in a disposable society. People do not work hard enough on their marriages. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. We have different needs. We all need to be treated with respect differently, and it's just not happening.
Right.
Also, we're also finding there's a lot of abuse, which has been going on for a long time, verbal, physical,
But
emotional.
that's in every part of society.
Right.
What is distinct about Orthodox Jewish life, which is focused on Torah and mitzvahs, keeping Shabbos, keeping kashrus?
That's pseudo, a lot of it, I think.
I think that there are pros and cons of that. I think that on the one hand, we have such strong Jewish values, being in the home and working to protect marriages. We have so many Jewish laws that guide us to hope to have happy marriages that are strong for our children. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of stigma around divorce and around mental illness. And I think that often can make people hide issues that are going on in the home. And if you're hiding it and not getting help, then people get to a point of no return where they're at their wits' end, they're ready to get divorced, and they're not willing to look back. For every couple that comes to us, we ask, we want to make sure that they've tried everything. They've spoken to their rabbanim, they've spoken to therapists, individual therapists, marriage counseling. We ask to make sure. And a lot of times it's too late. Whereas if people felt comfortable expressing what was going on in their home and not trying to make it look like everybody is so happy on the outside for their image in the community, then maybe there could be earlier intervention to help these families.
And that's what I was going to say also, that there's so much hidden mental illness and untreated mental illness.
And then
so they're not putting that on their resume.
And when women are on any medication and then they get married and they
Or
want to have
men.
kids.
Or men.
Well, the women especially, if they want to have kids, they get off of the meds. And that's when things could go haywire. Because if you're on meds for a while and then you just go off because you want to get pregnant, it's problematic.
A lot of these mental illnesses also come out a little bit later, more at middle age. So let's say women in their late 30s, early 40s,
Really?
and men as well. So there could be, let's say somebody has an underlying disposition to have a certain mental illness. Obviously, we're not mental health professionals,
Right.
but we just see so much from our practice. Let's say bipolar disorder. Some people don't find out that they have bipolar disorder until their late 30s, early 40s, and it could be triggered by a stressful event. It could be something that many people wouldn't find to be too stressful, but for their chemistry and their body, that's what it is. For men, it could be as severe as schizophrenia that comes on sort of at middle
I thought
age.
schizophrenia comes out like I've heard early 20s sometimes.
It could be early 20s as
Right,
well. Yeah,
right.
it could be early 20s. But
And
when
these
we're
kids
talking
get
about
married young.
Exactly.
Right,
When we're
they're
married
getting
very
married
young.
very young. And financial problems, and that's a biggie.
The lack of discussion about finances, especially in the shidduch community, where
It's a
everybody sort of wants to brush that under the rug. We do a lot of
God will
prenuptial
provide.
agreement-
God
Yeah.
will provide. He does provide.
We do prenuptial agreements, and we ask, have you guys spoken about how you're going to pay your expenses? And these couples who are engaged to be married in 6 to 8 weeks have not had those discussions yet. It just is a bad setup.
All right, so let's try to focus on different areas of what causes divorce, because I think we're all over the place.
Yeah.
So far, what is the frequency? Is it mental illness? Is it financial pressures? Is it societal pressures? What is the number one or number two cause that you would say
I don't know if there is.
couples are dealing with that cause them to want to separate?
We definitely see a range. Financial troubles is complicated because it's really expensive to get divorced, especially when you have young kids in yeshiva. Your expenses are high, and it's much harder to maintain 2 households than it is one.
So they stay married.
So people
until
stay
they
married
don't.
until they hit their breaking point, which contributes to mental illness. So that's one thing. Another thing that we see is a lot of family beyond the nuclear family in the household getting involved. And a part of that is financial as well. A lot of people in the younger generation, including my own generation, rely on their parents for help to help them buy houses. Naturally, when a grandparent or a parent is giving money, helping pay expenses, helping pay for yeshiva, helping pay a mortgage or rent, they're going to be more involved, and it gets awkward. It gets awkward and
You mean
uncomfortable. It
interfering
causes
with their
tension.
lives.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So are you saying that the cost of getting divorced is a thing that prevents people from wanting to consider divorce?
Absolutely.
And
I once
it's
saw
very
a headline.
sad.
I once saw a
Very sad.
headline in an Anglo-Jewish newspaper many years ago, and the headline, what caught my attention was it said that yeshiva tuition is the best contraceptive. They were, and I don't know, it was intriguing. You know, I wanted to see what it was about, and they were saying that even though our families, our communities are encouraged to have large families, and they do have large families, way above the national average. But considering the cost of raising a child in an Orthodox community, the costs are going to be very often prohibitive. So is that the cost that leads to the financial pressures, which ultimately can lead to tension and pressure in the household? So is that what you're seeing? It becomes like a Chad Gadya type of situation where one situation leads to the next until there's a breaking point. Now, do you? At what point do you?
But that's
encourage?
only one point. There's so many other reasons that people.
Okay,
are
let me hear
Well,
a
if
couple of
you're
them.
mentally not really mature, that'll break you. They don't know how to deal with not a perfect situation. You know, our kids, I'm not going to say everybody's growing up in a perfect home, but we all try to do whatever we can as parents to make life easier. Oh, you're not in that class? I'll work it out.
Right.
Then they get married, and you don't want to interfere, but then you see things that, go on. What do you think a parent should do?
As far as
Parents see things in their children's married
they have
life.
to be loving and supportive and be able to talk to their child honestly, not be like, what do you mean? How do you explain it that they are not supportive in the right
You
way?
can't just be a
They should
cheerleader
support
for
both.
your own child.
Right, that's
it's
it.
really important. It's really important that the grandparents,
As a
whichever
unit.
side you're on,
Right.
that you try and encourage and lift up the couple, because the couple's strength is
Right.
what creates the family strength. If that's not strong, then the children just naturally suffer.
Right.
Did parental involvement in marriages like skip a generation? Like,
None.
No.
Ours?
Like
Nobody was involved.
Yeah, I'm thinking about.
It's a great question.
Our parents' generation.
They went through a war.
Our
They were
parents'
children of
generation,
you're a
they-
child of Holocaust
I'm a
survivor.
child of
Yeah,
Yes.
soul
they-
survivors.
They led their lives.
had
They
Very
were
good
bu-
parents.
They were
Very
busy
good
worrying
parents.
about
They-
other
they
things,
led
getting
their-
food on the
their
table.
lives. I don't know if that's the reason they led their lives, whatever.
Who was going to get involved in my
whatever it
parents'
was.
life?
And then
I think that the shidduch world has to do with that also. The parents are so involved in their children's shidduch. They're so involved in trying
that-
to make
is that-
it seem
is that-
like their
is that
children
healthy? Is that
are
healthy?
so perfect.
Is
I
that
don't think
healthy or
it is,
unhealthy?
because I think that they're not letting the couple really get to know each other and really get to set expectations in their relationship. And I think it's unnatural. And there's a lot of pressure on the child to act up to their parents' standards and trying to make sure that they're giving the right showing for their parents.
And how long can they keep doing that for?
Yeah.
You know that boys don't have to call girls before the first date. You realize that. I don't know if you realize that now.
Some cases
I've
they
been
do.
setting boys up with girls, and I was told, you know what? Just set the date up. I said, why? They're going to run out of things to say? I mean, they can't make a call and say, hi, let's go out. I mean, we both know that the girl's going to say yes.
Right.
But
so it's pre-choreographed, so to speak.
everything is.
Yeah, it used to be that if you called, if you met a young woman, if you were a young man, you met a young woman, you called her, you got her phone number somehow.
And you weren't even sure she'd say yes.
You induced her to give her your
And then
phone
you would
number
call her
somehow.
after the date, and you
And
would
you don't-
talk, and
yeah,
you would
you
Came
don't-
to
spend.
the
you
door,
don't know
he
for
knocked
sure.
on the door, shook
You're-
dad's hand.
Yeah, you don't know for sure whether she's going to say yes. She might say, "Oh,
And
I'm
it's
sorry,
okay
I'm
if they
busy."
don't say yes. It's fine, but
Yeah.
it could be to the person themselves,
I
not,
think
not to
that-
the parent.
That speaks on rejection. The parents have so much invested on whether their child gets rejected
good
or
point.
not. And everybody's just, wanting this success, and they're not measuring success right? Just like
Right.
we say, a couple not getting divorced isn't always a successful outcome when there's abuse in a relationship, right? We're not always just trying to avoid. That's why we're here. We're here for the people who really need it, even though,
Right.
of course, we want to make sure that people have tried not to. But I think that young people and people who are, deciding to enter into this relationship for their whole lives have to be okay rejecting and being rejected.
Okay, so let's focus on defining some of these terms. How do you define abuse?
Oh, it's very complicated. It spans obviously
Male, female, right?
Male, female, both
Absolutely.
ways, physical, emotional. We deal
Financial, verbal.
We deal with the get law, which is an obvious, now it's an obvious form of abuse, which we've luckily been able to get
right,
courts to
right.
recognize. But that wasn't easy.
We have in New York, we have the get law, which definitely helps, and that's why prenuptial agreements are very important. It's not a question; it needs to be done.
I think YU insists on having it before.
They do. The RCA
Many rabbis.
prenup.
And no,
Right.
not just YU, it's the Rabbinical Council of America,
Yes.
which oversees marriages and oversees divorces, has a very busy court.
Yes, we practice
very
in
busy
there.
court system, which is it's very fascinating things. We have a friend in Israel who has very limited ability to speak English, but his parents were divorced, and when I was trying to communicate with him a couple of years ago, I asked him what his childhood was like. So
Yeah.
he said to me, "Mother,
But
father, mother, police, father, father,
Oh.
police, mother. You know, that's how his childhood was. You know,
Yeah.
first he had this, you know, they shared custody, and before you knew it, they had to get the police involved to get them to share custody. So on abuse, you're talking about physical abuse. Are you talking
Physical
about that? Is
abuse.
that number 1 or is that number 5?
There's no such thing as rating it. It's all bad.
No,
There's
well,
also
and controlling, which is also a form of abuse.
Including limiting people's ability to have a relationship, whether
With
with
their
friends,
parents
with
and
family.
friends.
That's a
Right.
form of abuse.
I've heard
Standing
that.
in front of a door and blocking a door. Do you consider that physical abuse, or
Yes,
is that only
I
emotional
consider
abuse?
that almost. If you do that in law, if you would stand in front, that's like kidnapping.
What about
That's
not
attempted-
letting
that's
somebody
attempted
use a
kidnapping.
certain bathroom in the home? That is abuse.
You don't let them what? You don't let them
Use this
the-
particular bathroom in the home.
Oh, really?
That
That's
is
interesting.
abuse. We see every
Yeah,
form of
we
abuse.
1 second.
I thought that was very
I don't want to go into
I thought
that.
that was very
part.
common.
It's serious.
I thought that was
It's
very
It's
common.
serious.
There's enough bathrooms in our home.
Right.
But
right.
no,
Thank God.
we've seen it all.
But to talk
Tara,
about
seriously?
to talk about the definition of abuse, it's
Talking about a
it's
man not
wide-ranging.
allowing a woman to use the bathroom, or
No,
a woman
the
not
opposite.
allowing
Vice versa in this
Opposite.
scenario.
a woman doesn't allow her husband to use a certain bathroom.
That's one example.
Well, she
They don't get divorced. For
We
that.
had a
Absolutely
situation.
not. We're talking. The question was, how do you define abuse? Abuse has a lot of different. It comes out in a lot of different ways. Whether it's bank accounts, whether it's credit cards, whether it's financial, whether it's not allowing somebody to
So what's the
speak
most
to
common-
family or friends,
what-
not
what-
allowing somebody to work,
What's
not
the
allowing them
what's the
to
most
have
common
phones,
form? What's the
drive.
most common form of abuse that you see in your
Wow.
office?
You keep asking that question, Larry,
know.
and there's no answer.
No answer?
There's no right answer. It's
all
for
abuse-
every single
all
thing
abuse
we
is the
see.
same?
It's also It's also very personal. What one person can take and is emotionally capable of handling, another person might not be.
So financial abuse, okay?
Yeah.
Not allowing one
To have a credit card.
one of the couple, one of the
Not
part of the
sharing
couple
a tax return. Not
Right.
not giving any information about their finances.
about money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is financial abuse.
Or
Yes.
giving a wife a certain stipend every single week and wanting to know how was that spent,
Or vice versa.
or vice
you know?
versa.
Right.
Okay, so you at what? How do you determine whether a marriage is salvageable or whether there's no alternative?
Oh,
but
that's
to,
such a
uh,
good question.
get
Yeah, I don't.
divorced.
Really good
That's not really
question.
for us, though. I think that's really
That's
for
for the couples
therapists
and
and rabbanim to
That's for
help
the
guide
couples.
people. But for us, we just want to make sure that they've tried, that they've made efforts, that divorce isn't their first option.
Right.
Right,
And
exactly.
then there's mediation that you
Right.
work with.
Yeah, we've
people
been
that are mediators.
mediating for longer than I'm an attorney. I was mediating, and mediation really works. It really saves people a lot of money, a lot of heartache, and it's better for the children if
I
it
mean,
works.
Not to get to the courts. If you want to get divorced, go
Absolutely.
through mediation and just get it.
We
And go your
favor
own way.
mediation. Yep.
Yeah.
Collaborative
So,
law is also very good. That's where the two lawyers agree that we're not going to go to court. We're going to sit down in a
Right.
room and try to make this happen.
Okay.
So mediation is facilitating a divorce without going through the
court.
legal process.
Yeah.
Is that what it?
Yeah,
what it-
mediation specifically involves a mediator. So there are some people who are mediators who are not lawyers. There are also
Right.
some lawyers who
Right.
are mediators. And like us, we happen to be certified mediators. Not every mediator is
I
certified.
can
So
see, yeah.
we
Your
both-
mother, everything has to be certified.
No, we
True.
didn't point out yet.
3
that they're mother and
times.
daughter yet.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Mother
yeah.
and daughter.
Right, we didn't
You couldn't tell.
point
Absolutely.
out yet.
Do we look alike?
Right?
Great.
No, you don't look alike at all. As a matter of fact, you know.
We were once on trial, and somebody made a comment behind the bench. Made a comment like, "Okay, which one of you have the natural color hair?"
Let me guess.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
oh,
So
really?
we both participated in mediation training, which is a general training. It's not particular to matrimonial. And then we both separately did advanced matrimonial mediation training.
And I
So-
took the mediation course years ago, so I really think it's a great option for people, and it should
didn't know
always
they
be the
had it
first
yet.
I
step.
did it about 6 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so Esther, you said you're practicing 26 years,
Yes.
approximately, and Allie, you said 14 years.
Yes.
You've been practicing, and you work on
Looks
separate
about
cases.
15, but okay.
I'll take it.
You work on separate cases, or you work together on the same cases.
We really work collaboratively. We're 4 lawyers. We all specialize in only matrimonial. We don't like to dip our toe in any other area. It's such a specific area of the law. The standards are different than in other areas of the law. It's not general contract rules, especially when you're dealing with custody matters. And the financials in New York specifically, there are very specific laws when it comes to dividing assets and support. So we all 4 really specialize in this area, and we all work collaboratively. So yes, there might be somebody who's the face of one case, but we meet together, we stick our heads together, we don't always agree. We have give different opinions.
Really?
And
We strategize
And how do you work
together.
that out then?
We work together. We strategize together. We'll do it over lunch every day, and we discuss all the cases, and we discuss what the best strategy is, and we come to an agreement together. It's 4 heads are better
There's
than
4.
one.
Okay, now you
Yeah.
have one that works in, one of the
Israel.
partners in
Right.
Israel, Elisa.
Yeah, so she's admitted
Yes.
in Israel and New York. She was admitted in New Jersey. I don't know if she still is, but
think she
yeah, we're very excited about adding that
Okay,
to
so
our
I
resume.
want to get to discussing how you
The laws?
how you work with the state of Israel. The
Right.
Jewish communities are very tight knit. It's a very tight knit between them. But first, before we get to that, we talked about how you are involved with rabbis in terms of involved with trying to save a marriage or try to
Mediation.
make a peaceful conclusion
Right.
to whatever the couple needs, whether it's to get divorced or not. So, what role, and is it unique to the Orthodox Jewish community that a rabbi, a person, a woman's or a man's rav, is so deeply involved in the divorce process? And what role do you prefer that they play in this process?
So it's not only in the Orthodox world. People have priests. They have other people that they speak
Yeah,
to.
it's good to have religious.
They have some kind
leaders
of religious
involved.
person that they speak to.
Okay.
So it's not only in our community. It's probably have more important in our community, the role of the rabbis.
Right.
Rabbis can be very, very helpful. When somebody comes to meet with us, we sit and we listen to their story. And there are always 2 sides, 3 sides to the story. But we're really, after so many years of doing this, we have very good intuition. And we really try to guide the person honestly and tell them what they should do. Often, and we're really proud of that, we are able to save the marriage. We tell them to go for marriage counseling. We'll refer them to certain marriage counselors that we know have amazing track records. We also have them speak to the rabbi. Sometimes we'll speak to the rabbis also. And many of the rabbis are very involved. We get calls from the rabbis at all hours of the night for our advice on certain issues. And we guide them as well so that they can, help, guide these, their congregants.
A
Okay,
big
so-
part of our practice is also in the rabbinical courts. So in
Oh,
New York,
Beis Din.
in the Beit Din, yeah. So
Okay.
in New York, the Beit Din is an arbitration. So it falls under arbitration. So the rabbis who are presiding over cases call us sometimes, and we appear before them. So rabbis have a very big role in our practice in that
So,
respect.
We appear often in the Beis Din on cases, on custody.
Okay.
It's not really custody, it's financial issues, but it
How
could
do, how
be
do
custody.
how do the secular courts interface with the rabbinical courts? Do they recognize
important
one
question.
another?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in New York, there is a distinction between finances and custody and how the civil courts will really respect the decision of the arbitrators, which is the dayanim. There's usually 3 dayanim that preside over a case. And if 2 people agree to go before this arbitration panel and have this panel assess their case and make a decision, courts favor it. Courts are happy that the people are going to arbitration, that somebody else is helping make a decision. It's often quicker. It's still expensive, but it could be much more streamlined.
It takes the load
But-
off the court.
But
But-
but the court still maintains their right. It's called
The real
parens
decision?
patri when it comes to custody disputes. So the court says that you can't give the decision about custody for children to anyone other than the court. We always reserve our right to make decisions about custody. So some people don't want to go to the Beit Din when it comes to custody because it could sort of be undone if you don't like the decision. So you have to really know that both parties are going to respect, or really hope that both parties are going to respect the decision
And which
of
Beis
the
Din you go to?
dayanim.
All of them. All of
It's
them.
very important to do that. But
Many
also when
lo-
it comes to equitable distribution and support, the court isn't just going to rubber stamp what Beit Din does. They have to give the reason. They have to show the explanation of why it's fair. They might want to show if it's child support, the calculations that were done in order to get to the numbers.
You go to all courts. You go to the Hasidic courts.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
Williamsburg and Muncie.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and
Borough
places
Park.
like that.
Some of them are
Flatbush.
Zablaz, some of them are
Someone told me,
Manhattan,
someone told me
Queens.
that he was involved in a divorce.
Lakewood.
I was in Lakewood last
He was
week.
involved in a divorce. I think it was his divorce, and he did not. The Bezdin only insisted only on conducting the process in Yiddish. Okay, and
yeah.
Tell me that
and
story.
he didn't understand any Yiddish.
I don't have that problem because when I'm there
understand Yiddish?
representing a client, they don't. No, I wouldn't appear anywhere that only.
They
but
really
we've
can't do
never,
that.
We've never
Yeah.
once had that issue
all Yiddish
before.
speaking,
Yeah, we
Well,
have
you
sometimes.
could have interpreters. You know.
No, we've never.
they
we've
speak-
never
they
had
all
that
speak
issue
English.
in the most
Really?
ultra orthodox.
They conducted in language.
You're telling me you actually
Yes.
went to New Square also and to Kiryat Yol? I mean,
I haven't personally gone
I can't imagine.
to
I
Kiryat.
can't imagine
No,
there.
but
they
you have
high,
to. You have to realize those
Right.
people aren't going to want us to
Right,
come. They
right.
come with a towing. They come
Right.
with a rabbinical advisor.
Right.
And sometimes we do have decisions that are in Hebrew and Yiddish, and those we get translated by a certified translation service that the courts respect and that the
So
courts
are you
recognize.
able to serve as a Italian, or you don't or Bezdin doesn't recognize you? To
Is it a Toenet?
I think it might be a toenet.
No, that's an advocate. An advocate.
Totally.
Yes.
I
Absolutely,
understand.
I'm recognized as an advocate, and in the Beit Din of America, they actually only allow advocates who are lawyers.
Is the matter of custody of the children an independent type of category, or is it one of those things in the list of certain types of abuse that could be dispensed by either party?
So custody, I would say it's both. It's definitely not so simple to say that it's separate because the standard that the court uses to assess what should happen with regard to custody, whether it be where the children should live primarily, what should be the schedule, how do we make decisions for these children if they need their tonsils out or if they need to go to an orthodontist, how do we decide who that's going to be? So the standard is simple. It's the best interest of the children.
Right.
It's simple, but it's vague.
Right.
So how do they determine what's in the best interest for these children? Obviously, a factor is what's going on between this couple. One of the major factors is what the children want is considered, how the children are treated by each parent is considered, who acts in these children's best interest, meaning who puts them first, who is really looking at what's best for them as opposed to their own interests.
And which parent is going to foster a loving relationship with the other?
What about the education of the children? You're talking about 8, 9, 10-year-old kids can't make their own decisions. I've heard just from the distance. I've heard where one parent wants a child to go to yeshiva, and one parent, it's okay with them if they go to public school. Public school is free, and yeshiva
Right.
is very expensive.
right.
Well, the history is important. The access
What they
to
used
funds is important. Are there older siblings where there's a history? Are these schools the best choices for these children? For example, is a child, do they have a need that's special that a yeshiva isn't addressing, that they're
Right.
better suited for the public school? These are all factors. But in order to make a determination on custody, these judges are experienced judges and often always
Hopefully.
experienced lawyers. They are not mental health professionals. So what they do is twofold. One is they often, if people can't come to a decision, a couple can't come to a decision together, they will appoint a neutral forensic evaluator to help make a recommendation as to custody. And they will also appoint an attorney for the children or for different children if they
So
have
they
different
will
interests.
speak to the child because a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 12-year-old could say which parent they feel more comfortable with.
Yeah, and they have special ways. The attorneys for the children have to speak to the children in a certain way. You don't want to pose a question that simply. You
Right.
want to make sure they see the children when they're brought by mom and when they're brought by dad, for example. So, and they also, one of the most important things that they want to look for is, does it feel like the child is being influenced by a third party? Are they saying what maybe somebody else is telling them to say, or are they just mirroring language that they hear in the house that's not age appropriate?
That's why the attorney for the child is a very important role.
Yes.
Who gets to pick that?
The court.
The court appoints.
Okay, that's fair.
So have you ever seen a case? I mean, has there ever been a case in the history of divorce cases where a rabbinical court will decide that a child should not attend the yeshiva and should attend a secular or a public school instead? Have you ever seen anything like that?
Not in our experience, and very few couples really do complete a full custody evaluation in a rabbinical court because of the reasons I said before, because it can be undone if somebody
Okay.
doesn't like the outcome. If they're acting more as a mediator and making a recommendation based on the family, but they're generally not going to get so deep in like a forensic evaluator will. Although in the Beit Din of America, one of the dayanim, and depending on the case, is a mental health professional who is a doctor and a rabbi, and he's really helpful in resolving
Right.
in resolving those kinds of cases. He's very respected, very smart, very very great.
Would you say that the non-transparency when these kids are dating, meaning not everybody is upfront with what's going on in their lives, and then they get married and things fall apart?
I think what she
Is it a shorter date? Should they have longer dating period?
I think what Esther's trying to say is divorce hereditary? Is it something that runs through families? Would you say that? I mean, I have just casually observed.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
It's totally it's
hereditary?
totally not. I think
No, but when you say
anecdotally
it
can
happens,
be.
it can become easier. Not that it's in your DNA that you're going to get a divorce.
Or the opposite. Or quite the opposite.
That's true. You say,
see
I
it?
don't want to go through that.
Exactly.
Hey,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
The person might work harder if their parents
To save the marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you mentioned to us while we were setting up that your firm, the 4 attorneys, the 3 of you that are here in New York and Long Island, and the young lady
One in Israel,
who's,
the lucky one.
who's in Israel. You said that you are considered the go-to lawyers in the firm community.
I think people come to us for an honest opinion. Doesn't mean they're hiring us, but when they
Right.
want to get an honest opinion, they come to us for advice. They know if they're on the fence whether to get a divorce, whether things are normal in their life. They come to us for advice, and we give them an honest opinion.
So I do have a question. If they come as a couple,
They don't come as a couple.
they never can because
For mediation,
if
they
the
can.
woman comes, then the man can't hire you.
Yeah, the first
Right.
question that we ask is we run a conflict check within our
Okay.
office. There are 4 of us.
Right.
Our office has been established for over 20 years.
I watch a lot of law shows.
Yeah, but a couple can come to us if they're coming to us together for mediation, but that's
Okay.
the only scenario.
And then
Okay.
we advise them to get their own lawyers as well,
Okay.
Yes.
just
I
to
got it.
review everything.
I think I once had a conversation with if someone calls you just for an opinion or wants to interview you to see whether they want to use you as an attorney in a divorce,
The other person
you're automatically disqualified from even meeting with the other party in the dispute.
So there are laws about that
Conflict of interest.
conflict of interest. So yes, but there are laws that prevent somebody from taking advantage of that. You can't
Because
just
there
call
are
10
people
lawyers.
that will call every lawyer, and
Yeah.
the other one has nobody to use.
Yeah, but absolutely. If somebody comes and has a consultation with us and provides us confidential information,
So
we
that
cannot.
that
and will
happens
not
where
meet with them.
people, as part of a different. I think we may have discovered a different type of abuse situation
Yes.
where someone calls every.
Every lawyer.
quality type of divorce lawyer
Yes.
to get a consultation with them. You know?
And to go a step further on that, there's a recognized form. I don't know if it's recognized as abuse, but there's trying to outlitigate somebody using your financial resources. So if somebody holds the
Oh.
purse strings to more money, whoever's
Oh.
the more moneyed spouse, the court calls it, whoever has more access to money and regular income coming in,
Right.
the court wants to make sure that that party is not outlitigating and using that for leverage to put pressure on the other person to either settle, not allow them to get their own representation. So there are safeguards in the law to protect
Okay,
against
so
that.
we can't do a show about program, an episode of the podcast about divorce in the from community in the Orthodox Jewish community without talking about agunas. So
Thank you for bringing that up.
what
You
have
were
what have
part
you
of an organization,
What
if
have
I
you
remember
seen?
years
What have you
ago.
seen? What have you seen? And,
We had a
how do you deal with
a
it?
charity event. for
Right,
them.
you did have a charity event
We showed
many
the
years
movie
ago.
Get
Yes.
in Malvern at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Malvern closed actually.
They
but-
did.
They really?
Yeah.
They did close.
Yeah, so we
Well, nobody goes to the movies
screened the
anymore.
movie,
Yeah,
and
they
the money
used to-
went to ORA,
Ora. That's
the
it.
organization
Right.
for the resolution
Right.
of
We were there. Right.
All right. So
Yeah.
how do you deal with that? What area of divorce law does
We could have an
the
entire
Agunas-
podcast just
Just
on
on
that
Agunas?
issue.
On Get or Agunas.
On Agunas,
Let's
yeah,
do the short
it's-
version.
It's,
I think one of the short versions is that there are experts and specialists that help us in terms of trial prep and can be witnesses at trial to explain to a court how get refusal is a form of abuse and how to help the court utilize their several get laws that we have here in New York to give relief to a party while they can't force it.
That's
again.
why prenups are so important.
The prenup
Exactly.
is very important because it becomes, instead of a religious issue that the courts don't want to get involved in because
Right.
of the separation of church and state, it becomes a contract issue,
Right.
which is very helpful. And while a court can't force somebody to give a get, they could recognize it as a form of abuse and give other forms of financial relief to a victim or to somebody who doesn't have their get, recognizing that they're abused and they're chained and what the limitations that not having a get causes on somebody. For example, not being able to get remarried, have children, have a second income in their household because they can't get remarried. And I want to note, we don't only see a woman who doesn't have a get. We do have cases
Males,
where
right.
men don't have a get because
Right.
while there are some avenues that a man can try and get what's called
Heteroneia rabbanim.
absolutely
No such thing by the women.
no such thing by the women, and it's quite costly. So if you can't afford a heter and you can't afford to rally and get that, we
Right.
see men
All right, so has the-
without.
There's no excuse not
ahead.
to give a get. There just is no excuse. And yeah, there are so many situations that are really bad where somebody might be depriving somebody of their children and making up stories and all that.
And grandchildren.
Yeah, the remedy is go to court.
You have other
Fight,
relief.
Fight all you can. But
Yeah.
but holding back the get is only going to make you look bad.
Well, it's
Parental alienation.
Parental alienation. But we'll get to that in a second. But it's very expensive, also to
Going to the courts.
hold up the process, because you could afford to, for the lawyers to keep you in court. Not in a divorce situation, but I heard about lawyers in New York, in parts of New York, that if you don't pay your rent, if you pay them, let's say your rent is $1,000 a month.
right.
You pay this lawyer $300 a month. He'll keep you in your apartment forever, keep
For years.
keep himself in court.
not
challenging,
Wow.
especially the way it works.
It's a
today.
real thing.
Yeah, I
Especially
mean, if the lawyer's
Really,
goal
the-
isn't
the
the
way it
best
works
interest
today,
of their
you know,
client
yeah,
and
tenant-
fairness and justice,
Well, for himself.
you have
yeah,
a
tenants' rights and everything. People, no one wants to push anybody out into the street.
Yeah.
But you have lawyers that know how to, work the process or even abuse the process, if you want to call it that. What were we talking about?
We were talking about parental alienation.
Oh, parental alienation. So that's another.
That's a new thing. They don't care how it hurts the child.
Also, people shop around for lawyers to find the lawyer that's going to tell them what they want to hear. So that's a big problem as well. You need a lawyer
is.
that's honest, and you have to listen to what the lawyer says. And you need a lawyer that's going to give 1,000%, a lawyer that's going to be prepared. But you have to listen to the lawyer. So they shop around till they find the lawyer that's a cheerleader and is happy to do whatever they want.
You had
Really?
asked earlier what happens when we disagree, when
Right.
we're meeting and putting our heads together and we have different strategies. What do? It's not our lives, it's our clients' lives,
Right.
right? So we sit them down, we tell them the options, we tell them the pros and cons, the risks of each, and they're the ones that ultimately get
They make
to
the decision.
make that decision. So having honestly informed clients is really what makes the process
And people
the best.
come to us and admit that they want to basically punish their spouse for whatever reason, and we're not interested in any
Using
kind
the
of
wrong bathroom.
whatever. We're not interested in someone's revenge plan. They can, either listen to us, but we're not interested in someone's revenge plan. That's not the type of law we practice, and we will not take cases like that.
Right.
So you've refused cases based on.
Of course.
Absolutely.
based
If
on
people
that?
want to
They
take
want
an
to run an
unrealistic
ethical law firm.
Now, what about we talked about custody and we talked about a number of other areas that, again, involved in divorce. What about the rest of the family? Esther mentioned, this Esther over here, mentioned parental alienation. You can have a successful divorce process, but it's predicated on you can't speak to her parents again. You can't go to Bubby and Zadie's house, that type of thing.
There
I
really
mean,
should be no basis for that. If there's such a concern and a safety concern, people would go and try and obtain an order of protection or some kind
Right.
of restraining order. But the bottom line is, if thank God
It's
there
revenge.
are two parents,
It has nothing to do with anything
so
else.
if there are two parents that each have rights to see their child during
Mm-hmm.
their time, there should really be no restriction on being able to take the children to their own parents' home, the children's grandparents on their
Right.
side.
so that's in terms of parental being alienated from parents, but that could be worked out worked into the process very naturally.
Well, you're talking about grandparent
Yeah.
alienation.
I'm talking about grandparents
Yeah, it
too.
could be grandparents.
I've
I mean,
heard of cases.
Is
It's
that
not
leg-
so
is that
common.
legitimate?
It's
Is
Not
that-
so common.
What we see sometimes is a grandparent disparaging the other parent, but really when we
And
deal
that's
with
not
it,
okay because it's
not
hurting the child.
and it reflects poorly on that parent. And so the environment by that parent might not be the best for the child because like we said before, one of the main factors that a court considers when looking at custody is which parent is going
best.
to foster the relationship between the children and the other parent. You want to make sure you're putting the children first and not letting your hate or upset towards the other parent get in the way of your judgment and your ability to make decisions in the best interest of the kids, which includes not disparaging the other parent,
The
not
other one.
talking bad in earshot of the other parent, really not disparaging them to the community. You don't want to be the family that's gossiping about your spouse. It's
In
not
the
good
end,
for your
it doesn't
kids.
work for you.
It doesn't work for the kids, and that's
No.
the most important.
No.
So is there a difference in how a case is handled, whether it's before a bezdin or before a secular civil court? Does it make
Very
a difference?
It's a very different process. There are definitely pros and cons to each. It's very specific to the Beit Din also, which Beit Din, they all have a little bit of a different process how they handle things.
And
So-
some people have no choice. They have to go to Beit Din.
What is the shortest amount of time you had in dealing with getting a divorce from start to finish? Because this sounds like endlessly
I
complicated.
wanna hear the longest.
Endlessly complicated.
Yeah.
1 hour, a 1 hour
1
mediation.
hour, you had a 1 hour.
That's
from
1
start to
hour,
finish?
they came
That's
to me.
amazing.
From start
we
to
went
finish,
chick
1
chock,
hour?
chick chock.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
With
1
custody,
hour. Then I wrote the
with custody, with children involved and custody.
Yeah, the kids were older, so there was really no issue.
Oh,
What about the longest?
Oh,
Still ongoing?
It's still ongoing, probably.
How many years?
they can go
Many
on for
years.
Many years.
Many years.
There could be appeals. there could-
Hundreds
There are
of
two
thousands
issues.
of
One
dollars
is-
just washed away.
One is for
Very
the initial
sad.
divorce, but then there are also people who just remain in court because one party keeps on bringing them back, and if they're not continuing to,
in custody or whatever reason.
so those we call them post-judgment cases, where unfortunately they, even if their divorce is finalized, they continue to have issues until their kids are grown.
All right, there's a lot, Allie and Esther, there's a lot, like you said, we could probably do a separate podcast
on each one of these
on
topics.
each one of these
Right,
things.
right,
And
right.
maybe we should talk about...
No, we do have a question. Esther,
I have
brought
another
up-
question, too, that I wanna bring
Esther
up,
was
but go
saying
ahead.
what to talk about earlier on, and she said, why don't we talk about what to tell these kids when they're dating and what to look out for? That's important.
Well,
we're
they-
not even up to the divorce. Let's see, when our kids are dating, what should they look at?
It's a very important topic, also worthy of an entire podcast. I think you need to look for lots of red flags, right? And there's so many of them. Not sharing information, secrets, things you're not, you don't know about. You have to ask, you have to speak, you have to talk, you have to ask questions. How are we going to manage? What is our future going to look like? Who's going to pay the rent? How are we buying food? Who's working? Who's not working? Do you like taking care of babies? Everything. There's so much to discuss.
Transparency.
Communication
Right,
is
and
key.
communication.
How do those initial conversations go? How long do they last? Is somebody trying to dodge certain topics? And really having
Well, the
correct
dating.
expectations.
We have so many examples of situations where young couples are coming into us and there is no communication whatsoever. One person might come in and say, I want a divorce. He doesn't speak to me for 3 days at a time. And what are you trying to discuss? Won't discuss anything,
Yeah.
just shuts the other person out.
Do they bring
Yeah.
their parents in with them ever?
Yeah.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do, but we really just meet with the client for
Good.
confidentiality.
What's the most brief period that you saw a marriage last? Let's say they got married. Today's what? Today's
Oh, that's a sad
Tuesday.
question.
Yeah.
Very short.
Yeah. heard one day.
Today's Tuesday, right?
Not even to the
today's
second.
even
Not
the
even to
day.
the second week. Yeah,
Oh,
not
second
even.
week?
Maybe they got through Sheva Brachot.
No,
and-
I
they got
know
through
that
Sheva
they
Brachos?
didn't even come close.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it
got
was
divorced before Sheva Brachos was over. You say?
after the wedding. Yes.
I mean, you might-
yes,
you might as
after
well-
the
I think they
wedding.
maybe knew it was done on that night,
You might as
but
well have
they
the
didn't
Sheva
really
Brachos.
do it until.
You know, if the caterer's probably been paid already.
Exactly.
You know?
That's why we only hear
What was
about
the
it
question
the
you
week
wanted
after.
to ask?
People, I don't remember now. People want to eat. You know, people have
But
to eat.
I'll tell you the important thing that
Well, it'll come to
that
me.
parents need to know
Yes.
also, and people that think they're going to go through a divorce need to know. You need to be educated. You cannot make a move without speaking to a lawyer. You don't hire the lawyer. Speak to the lawyer to know what your rights are. Don't move out of a house. Don't
I
move
heard
money.
that.
Right? Don't
Right.
move money. Don't,
That's
there are so many
abandoning.
risks.
That's our second most common question after the Esther Schonfeld School is,
Yes.
can I leave? Can I get the other
I heard
person
you have
to
to stay
leave?
there.
There's, it's just a complex issue. There are ramifications beyond just your immediate how you feel in that moment and what you think you want.
But you're not allowed to leave, right? Is that true? If you have
Everybody could do whatever they're
if
free
you
to
have-
walk
if you
out
have
a door,
minor
but there
children.
are
Smart
going
to.
to
If
be
you have
ramifications.
Yeah,
Right,
minor
everything you
children.
do at the beginning of a case is going to set the stage for the end of the case. So you have to be very careful about the moves you make. So go speak to a lawyer. There are millions of divorce lawyers out
Right.
there. Go have a consultation and then decide how you're going to proceed.
What did that suit store say? An educated consumer is
Oh,
our best
Sims,
customer.
Sims,
Yeah,
yes.
so we
Yeah,
feel
they're out
that.
of
We feel
business.
that way too.
Remember Sims, Esta? That was fun.
Long gone.
It was Sims, yeah.
The educated customers are best. Educated consumers
Consumers
are
are
best
best customer.
I want to give you
Right.
one more example that I think is very
We
telling.
were talking about how brief a marriage was.
We discussed it.
I
It
told
could
you
be
that
that
already.
night.
2 or 3 days, one
Yeah,
night.
people call us like a few days later after the marriage.
Yeah.
And we don't rush to do anything.
We have
but
to
it's
wait
very
based on
sad.
certain laws in New York of when you can actually file a divorce, but
Really? Okay, what was your question?
One of the important things that we should discuss with you is that very often we'll have a parent come with a child, and the parent will say, listen, we don't need anything from the spouse. We're going to take care of our child, but we want back the $500,000 that we gave them for the house.
yes.
That is it.
Fair.
Totally.
So our lesson for today is that
if you're going to take
Don't
something
put it in
away,
their. Don't put it in their names
no,
right
no,
away.
no.
What?
There are a lot of. First of all, you could have a prenup that says that if any side gives
Right.
money towards the down payment, you get that back.
whether when
That's-
the house
that's
is
one
sold
choice.
or if there's a
Right.
separation.
There's a lot of ways to.
Remember my question.
The other thing is that having the kids sign a promissory note, right? That way you know that if God forbid they get divorced, at least that money is protected. The other choice is both sides match. So both sides are on equal footing.
Right.
So there are a lot of resolutions and ways to handle it, but this is a common thing that people will say to us, we just want that money back. And it's possible to trace it, but it depends. It's complicated how
Sure,
the money
there's
was
a
given.
diamond involved.
What
I know
about
that
this?
You have to
people
keep
were
records.
splitting the silver.
Yeah.
Banks
What
only
about
keep
the-
records for a certain amount of time. You have to keep records. If you have a promissory note, you have to talk to an attorney about how to make sure it's an enforceable note.
What about the wedding gifts? Do they have to be returned? Is there
Anything
They don't
Quite.
return them.
is
I
there
think
law-
they split
is
Things
there
them.
are-
law that
thi-
governs that?
Generally with exceptions, things acquired after you break that glass, after the wedding, is marital.
Okay.
Things before the marriage, like the engagement ring, is separate property. So if I give my spouse or my fiance a diamond ring, that's a gift. But if it's an heirloom, then one can argue that it's an heirloom and I want that back.
Okay.
So
Right.
it's
If a girl
complicated.
gets her grandmother's candlesticks as her wedding gift, it's not necessarily going to be treated the same way as the dishes bought off the registry.
So you have to watch out for that glass under the.
Everything changes
So
in
it's all
life
wrapped
when you,
up now.
when you
That's
step
is
on
why
that
they, is that why
glass.
they wrap it up?
That's
so
why
it's
they wrap it.
More difficult to break. Now, one more thing before we conclude this episode, and we'll pick it up some other time. What court is opposed to in Jewish law, whether it's a Beis Din in Borough Park or the Rabbinical Council of America, RCA, which is affiliated with more modern Orthodox? What is the reasons for being opposed to a prenuptial agreement?
You would have to talk to those rabbis
Well,
about
from
why.
from what you've seen.
From what we've seen, we
what
don't
is the nature
see-
of the opposition?
We don't see any good reason. We
What
just
is- but what
see
is-
it as
what
a
is
red
that
flag.
Saying that.
I understand. Well, I understand you're for
I'll
it.
tell you.
We're
I'll
all-
tell
we're
you
all
why
for
I'm
it.
answering
We're all
this
for
way.
it.
I don't want to give anybody ideas because I
Right.
don't think any of them are legitimate. So I'm not going to speak to them. I'm not going to give air to those
Right.
those oppositions.
No
which
oxygen. No oxygen for
Right.
that.
Exactly.
So you're
Yeah.
saying that basically you think that they're opposed to it.
It's bogus.
Because it in some way it
you
conflicts.
you lose a piece of leverage to abuse in the
That's what
future.
it's all about.
doesn't
yeah.
doesn't conflict.
And by
with
the
Jewish
way,
law at
it's
some
a red
point?
flag when someone
to the
doesn't
rabbi.
want to sign it.
Right.
talk to
Why
them.
wouldn't they sign it?
Right? Why not?
I mean, people that are involved in the divorce process always say that, according to the Rambam, it's very clear, I'm sure you heard it too as divorce lawyers, that you're allowed to physically beat somebody up to acknowledge that they give a get.
I never heard that one.
Yes, because...
I heard you're not allowed to, then it won't be okay.
Because
Well, we've seen people go to jail for it, so we're not
no, of course,
gonna.
I'm not advocating anyone do anything
Oh, I hope
illegal.
not.
No.
Married
I'm not-
47 years. I hope not.
I'm not talking about us, number one. I'm not talking about anything illegal, God forbid.
Okay.
I'm just saying that halachically, it's well known in those circles that you can physically beat up somebody to the point where they
Okay.
acknowledge and concede to give a get, because the explanation is, and I'm explaining as best as I could, and if anyone disagrees, they could always write us and we'll straighten it out. But it's your soul that really wants to do the right thing halachically, and if you're required by Jewish law to give a get. If you have to give a get, it's a mitzvah to give the get. If you have to give a get, but it's only the physical you, your animalistic part of you that's refusing to give the get. But your soul, your neshama, really wants to give the get. So that's the reasoning that I
That'll
heard.
go over big and.
that's
Look,
the-
we're
yeah,
talking
it's very
about
common.
we're
It's very
talking about an
common.
intention. We're talking about a contract before, when everybody is
Right.
happy and when everybody is optimistic. We're not talking about forcing someone's physical body to give a get. That's
Right.
not what a contract is. That's not what the RCA prenup is. That's not what our prenups that incorporate similar language and annex it often. That's not what it is. It's just a contract saying, this is my intention, this is what I plan to do, and if I don't do it, there could be a financial ramification on it, because there are financial ramifications when a person can't get their get.
So I
That's
think
what the get
all
law
this,
is.
That's
That's
what
the
the
get
get
law
law
is,
is.
The get
Right.
law is very helpful. We're lucky in New York that we
right,
have it.
It
right,
was
very
how
important.
many years ago was
Many
it
years
passed?
ago. Many years ago. No.
It was many years ago, but also there have been updates where laws regarding spousal support and laws regarding equitable distribution now incorporate as a factor one spouse's refusal to participate in a get, which is often for financial leverage.
So I think I think Esther, when you came in here earlier today, you said, "Is this going to be 10 minutes?" This program, right?
This could be.
We're happy
this
to
can
be
go
here
on for
anytime you like,
hours.
right.
Anyway, so no, listen. We maybe now that we covered, we realize now there's so many different dimensions to this issue. We should maybe think it out and figure
Get
out
more focused.
how to focus, and maybe
Right.
bring some people in that have had positive experiences, years ago, and maybe can reflect and share some of their wisdom.
It should be very educational. That's another
Yeah,
reason we're
100%.
doing it.
Something that we like
I
to
want
do.
people to look out for certain things.
It's up there forever.
That's
Don't
why
get up to the
and-
That's what
divorce
we
before.
hear. We want to help
people
people,
will-
be educated
yes.
on what they need to do. They
It'll
need to
be a
speak to a
learning,
lawyer before they make any moves. They need to consider the prenups, whether it's a regular prenup or the RCA prenup. These are all important things that they need to gain from what we're discussing today.
And
Right.
we take any opportunities we can to speak to the community and to speak to people in need of legal advice, even if it's not on a one-on-one basis. Different organizations have
Right.
invited us to speak at seminars, either in person or on Zoom, which is a lot of people feel more comfortable with because it's more anonymous, and they
Right.
could submit anonymous questions that then we speak on. I'm doing one on July 16th.
Okay, so we will.
So
Really?
if people
We are-
ask questions in the comments, maybe that could give us a few
Okay,
questions
we will,
another time.
We'll put your contact information, your email address, and
fine.
contact information, just for informational purposes, at the bottom of the screen. Once this goes up online, like I said, it stays up there for eternity, and
For better or for worse.
and it gives people an opportunity to learn something from your experience and from the questions from as much as you know and as little as we know, the combination comes up to a good learning experience. But so I think we're going to conclude on that note. Unless you have
guess
anything
so,
else to
yeah.
say.
Thank you
Unless
so much
there's
for
something
having
else
us.
Thank you for
wanna
having
end with.
us. We're happy
Okay.
to come back anytime.
Okay, so our
Thank you.
guests have
Thank you, Dan.
been Esther Schonfeld and Ali Weaderhorn,
Her daughter.
her daughter,
And
Esther's daughter,
co-counsel, yeah.
from the Schonfeld Group. Is that what it's called?
Schonfeld Law Group.
Schonfeld Law Group. Schonfeld Law Group. So thanks very much for your time.
Thank you for
I
having
know
us.
as much as lawyers charge, we're not paying you, but it's a very expensive time that you spent with us.
We're
We
happy to do it,
appreciate
especially if you can help even one
you-
person.
you
One
did.
person.
Okay, so our guests have been, like I said, Esther Schonfeld and Ali Weaderhorn of the Schonfeld Law Group. I'm Larry Gordon with Esther Gordon. This has been the Between the Lines podcast, electronic version of the Five Towns Jewish Times. Thank you for joining us, and we'll speak to you next time.